So for this video, we're going to discuss how we go about sketching angles on the Cartesian plane. And there are a few definitions that we need to go over first before we can talk about how to sketch angles on the Cartesian plane. So the first definition is this. When we are sketching an angle on the Cartesian plane, let's try that again. Sorry about that. Let's go to this guy. Okay. So when we sketch an angle on the Cartesian plane, we start in what we call standard position. And standard position is defined to be the following. So if the directions are to sketch an angle on the Cartesian plane, standard position means that our starting point will be the positive x-axis. Is the positive x-axis. What that means is the following. Now remember our x-axis is the one that runs horizontally, our y-axis is the one that runs vertically. So remember that these are the positive values, here's 0 and all the positive numbers over here, and these are the negative values. So that means when we sketch an angle on the Cartesian plane, we are going to start at this axis right here. Now there's a few other things that we need to make sure that we're comfortable with too, and I mentioned this in the online notes, but let's review it, and that is, what does it mean to have a positive angle and what does it mean to have a negative angle? So for positive angles, when we sketch a positive angle, we're going to start in standard position, and we're going to travel in a counterclockwise manner. So we travel in a counterclockwise manner. Now remember, counterclockwise means against the clock. So that is, if we're sketching an angle that's in positive position, we're going to start somewhere around here, and then we're going to go in this direction. That means we're dealing with a positive angle. Now, what goes hand in hand with it is this idea of a negative angle. So let's talk about what we mean when we say a negative angle. For a negative angle, so for negative angles, we are still going to start in standard position, but we're going to travel in a clockwise manner. Which means, again, let's go back up here to the x-axis. So if we want to sketch a negative angle, we would start right here and then move in this direction. Okay, so positive goes clockwise, positive goes counterclockwise. Positive means we're going against the clock, and negative, we're going clockwise. Negative means we're going with the clock. All right, so let's get a little bit more of a hand on what we mean when we talk about measuring angles on the Cartesian plane. Let's do this. Let's see if I can do this. I'm going to draw. Let's go some shapes here. Let's see. Okay, so let's sketch another Cartesian plane. There we go. It's two nice lines here for the Cartesian plane, and this guy, and then this guy. All right, so if we were to sketch an angle on this Cartesian plane, remember that our starting point is the positive x-axis. So we're going to call that our 0 degrees. This is our starting point. And also notice that between each one of the quadrants that we do have right angles. Okay, so in quadrant 1, and quadrant 1 starts at 0 degrees and it ends at a right angle. Remember, a right angle is the same thing as saying 90 degrees. So quadrant 1 travels from 0 degrees to 90 degrees. Now quadrant 2, here's our 90 degrees. Again, you see we have another right angle there, so 90 plus 90 would give us 180 degrees. So quadrant 2 will contain all of the positive angles whose degrees are between 90 and 180 degrees. For quadrant 3, we're starting at 180, add another 90 degrees onto it, and that takes us to 270 degrees. So quadrant 3 contains all the positive angles between 180 and 270, and then quadrant 4 takes us from 270, add another 90 onto it, and now we're at 360 degrees. Now remember, what we're doing, 360 degrees completes a circle, and if you can kind of picture it, we are, if we swing an angle around starting at 0, starting at quadrant 1 and ending here at quadrant 4, then we just made a circle. So this is the positive degrees. Now, if we're going negative degrees, that means if we want to count in the other direction, we would just start here at 0 and move in a counterclockwise manner, in a clockwise manner. So we'd move in this direction over here.